weird leech-like beings from outer space changing people into zombies, a badass George Costanza with hair, naked punker zombie chicks, and more 80s classics coming up. Welcome to Horror 66's Horror Recommendations for Halloween. Or anytime, really. This is our list of 8 80s movies to watch this Halloween. If you're a horror fan, please subscribe to the channel for more great horror content like this list. I'm Zane, and I just want to say that there are so many great 80s horror movies out there. This is in no way the definitive list or a best of list. It's just a list of 8 movies to watch this Halloween or any time. Now let's get to it. First up, at number 8, we have the 1988 zombie movie Flesh Eater, directed by S. William Heintzman. He actually acts in it too. Now the name William Heintzman may not be too familiar to you, but he actually has a prominent role in zombie movie history. He was the very first zombie you see in Night of the Living Dead, the original one. He's the zombie that chases Barbara into the house. Flesh Eater is not on the same level as Night of the Living Dead, but it is a fun and entertaining movie to watch. Here's a brief synopsis. College students on an overnight hayride discover a group of man-eating zombies. They must fight for their lives while trying to escape and alert the authorities. This is a fun movie to watch. You get some gore, a great story, some cheesy 80s acting, and if that sounds like a good time to you, be sure to check out Flesh Eater. You'll thank me for it later. Next up at number 7, we have the summer camp teen slasher film called The Burning. Released in 1981 and featuring a young Jason Alexander, who you may know better as George Costanza from Seinfeld. The lore in The Burning is fairly typical for an 80s horror film, but it is interesting. The acting is decent for a teen slasher film, and the kill scene effects are the good stuff from the 80s. If you enjoy slasher films, The Burning shouldn't disappoint you. Here's a brief synopsis from IMDb. A former summer camp caretaker, burned horribly from a prank gone wrong, lurks around an upstate New York camp bent on killing the teenagers responsible for his disfigurement. If you're looking for a fun teen slasher film, give The Burning a watch. You won't be disappointed.
I will return! I will have my revenge! He lives on whatever he can catch right now.
At number 6, we have the classic dark comedy horror anthology, CREEPSHOW from 1982. It's written by Stephen King and directed by George A. Romero, so you know it's going to be a good time. The slogan for CREEPSHOW is the most fun you'll have being scared. Now, I'm not sure if it was the most fun, but it definitely was entertaining. CREEPSHOW features 5 short stories: Father's Day, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, Something to Tide You Over, The Crate, and They're Creeping Up on You. CREEPSHOW takes its influences from the horror comics of the 50s, with special effects being done by the legendary Tom Savini to give you that comic book style. CREEPSHOW is a fun movie to watch with friends or on your own. Give it a watch this Halloween.
CREEPSHOW will grab you, grow on you, and give you the creeps.
At number 5, we have Tobe Hooper's 1982 classic supernatural film, Poltergeist. The story is about the Freeling family. Evil spirits invade their suburban home and get stronger as the film progresses, eventually taking their 5-year-old daughter and bringing her to another dimension. The family hire a couple of parapsychologists and a spiritual medium to try to get their daughter back. There is a reason why Poltergeist is one of the classics. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely do so this Halloween.
They're here.
Next up at number 4, we have Sam Raimi's horror comedy classic, Evil Dead 2. Now this is more of a bigger budget remake of the original than it is a sequel. Bruce Campbell's acting is top notch, the blood is plenty, and Greg Nicotero's special effects are awesome. This is one of the movies that I typically watch every year on Halloween. The mix of humor and horror is well balanced in my opinion. The brief IMDb synopsis says, the lone survivor of an onslaught of flesh-possessing spirits pulls up in a cabin with a group of strangers while the demons continue their attack. If you haven't seen The Evil Dead 2 yet, or maybe you haven't watched it in a while, give it a go this Halloween. It will definitely get you in the spirit of the season. Now on to number 3. We have one of my absolute favorite movies from 1986, Night of the Creeps. I used to watch this movie on late night TV every year around Halloween when I was younger. I love the characters, the setting, the effects, and the story, which involves alien parasites that look like leeches. They enter people's bodies and turn them into zombies. A couple of college freshmen discover this and try to stop them from killing everyone. There are so many great scenes in this movie. If you can only watch 2 or 3 movies from this list this Halloween, make sure this is one of them.
Its head exploded and slugs spilled out.
Oh my God.
Now on to number 2. In this spot, we have the 1985 vampire classic, Fright Night. I watched this movie over and over when I was younger. Directed by Tom Holland, the story is about a teen that loves horror and he's convinced that his neighbor is a vampire. He tries to convince everyone around him and the cops, but of course, no one believes him, so he decides to take matters into his own hands. The acting is great, the story is fantastic, and it surely inspired other movies. In saying this, Fright Night is truly a classic. If you have a limited time to watch horror movies this Halloween, make sure Fright Night is on your short list.
But it will do anything to protect its secret.
Now onto the number 1 spot. We have one of my favorite movies of all time, 1985's Return of the Living Dead. I can still remember the first time I stayed up late at night one Halloween and watched Return of the Living Dead. I was still in grade school, and I remember going to school the next day and telling all my friends about it. It probably traumatized me and entertained me at the same time. I really enjoyed it. This zombie horror comedy is about 2 medical supply warehouse employees who accidentally release a gas into the air that causes the dead to come back to life. A group of punk rockers nearby get caught up in the scene and try to help fight off the dead. This movie has gore, comedy, a naked punker zombie chick, and more. If you have not seen Return of the Living Dead yet, and you're a fan of zombie movies, you really need to check it out. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you thought about it.
4 left, 10 right.
That's it for our 8 80s movies to watch this Halloween. Please remember this was not a best of list. It was just a list of 8 movies that I thought you might want to check out this Halloween. If you want, you can let me know your 80s picks for Halloween in the comments below. To recap, we had Flesh Eater, The Burning, CREEPSHOW, Poltergeist, Evil Dead 2, Night of the Creeps, Fright Night, and Return of the Living Dead. If you've watched any of these, or if you plan on watching any of these, let me know which of these picks are your favorite. Did you watch any of them after seeing this list? Be sure to tell me in the comments below. If you would like to see more of our lists and reviews, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more horror videos coming soon. For Horror 66, I'm Zane, and we'll talk soon.